Hello and welcome everyone to NexusForum Talk, Future of Telecommunications in the European Cognitive Computing Continuum. As part of the broader NexusForum talks, today we will be presenting the Telco Cloud Edge Working Group, and we also have three very interesting speakers. As per usual, we will talk a little bit about the project itself for those who are not familiar with NexusForum. Then we will move on to the roundtable, and please leave your questions for the end of this session. My name is Tajana Medakovic. I'm from F6S, a partner in the NexusForum project. So, first of all, it's important to mention that NexusForum is an EU-funded project, and we are actually working towards boosting the consolidation of the European Computing Continuum. In the scope of the project, through various activities that I will mention in the next slides, we're actually aiming to provide a bold vision in the new areas and directions in this ecosystem. So what is it that we actually do? We are actually delivering a strategic outlook on the cognitive computing continuum. We are working together with the IPSAI CIS and the European Alliance for Industrial Data, Edge and Cloud. In the scope of our activities, each year in the duration of this project, we have been creating a roadmap, which was updated through the work of the working groups that we formed, through our events organized in Brussels, through NexusForum Summit, and through two summits that we held in Japan and South Korea. And this was with the aim to identify the gaps, opportunities, potential for international synergies. And within this roadmap, we're actually producing research and policy recommendations in the identified key strategic areas. We are also gathering a very big ecosystem of different stakeholders, from investors to market leaders, but also researchers, so academia, and users from different sectors, industries, startups, and so on. As I mentioned, we also had a special focus on Japan and South Korea. And the work that we do is also regularly updated through iterations and contributions by these stakeholders through our thematic working groups. So apart from the one with Japan and South Korea, which might we say is a bit more geographical, but also driven by actual needs, the rest of the working groups are more, let's say, domain oriented. So as I mentioned today, we will have the opportunity to talk a little bit about the topics that concern the Telco Cloud Edge Working Group. And we will have three speakers. So I would also like to introduce Anders Lindgren, who will be leading the rest of this session, who is also the working group leader for Telco Cloud Edge from Research Institute of Sweden. Then we will have Michele Capobianco joining and Professor Rangarao Ventakesha Prasad. Anders, I'm leaving the floor to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Can okay, I guess maybe you will change the slides. I don't know if I can do that. So, thank you, Tajana. As Tajana said, as part of the Nexus 4 project, we've been working on this roadmap for the future Cloud Edge Continuum for Europe. And one part of that is on the telco cloud edge, how the cloud edge continuum will influence the telco industry, and also how it is influenced by the telco industry, and looking at how we can ensure that European telco industry remains competitive. So there are four key product areas: Open RAN, seamless connectivity, AI native telco cloud edge, and federated telco edge, and network as a service. Can I have next slide, please? So these priority topics covers. Of course, it's difficult to cover everything in a big roadmap like this, but this covers four key areas and of course many sub areas. I will not go into the details of all of this, but we will the questions that we'll be talking about during the rest of this sessions are connected to various topics spread across these. So we have defined these areas and then also defined a number of sort of short, medium, and long-term impacts to understand the importance of working on these areas for European sovereignty. And so, next slide, please. Uh, yes, you can go past these. Yeah, these were summarized in the previous one. So you can take next slide. So these are sort of the four technological priority areas, but of course we're not only interested in looking at how this works on the technology point of view, but this also connects to the cross-cutting themes that we have in the roadmap, understanding how this influences European digital sovereignty, how it can provide openness and governability, how it can contribute, and how AI can be a part of this, not as a nice feature to have, but as an enabler, and of course also the other way around. How can we make sure that these systems enables AI? And looking at how we go from having just this as the infrastructure to having a larger scale platform. Next slide, please. So today, as Tiana already said, myself, I'm a senior researcher at RISE, which is the National Research Institute of Sweden. And I have also invited two additional speakers to share some of their knowledge and insights in this. Michele Capobianco has already done a great job of contributing to the roadmap. So I'm sure that he will have a lot of interesting insights to share. And Professor Venkatesha Prasad, or VP, as he's known among his friends, is professor at TU Delft and has a long experience in working on different kinds of network systems, autonomous systems, and so on. So we have a number of questions to guide the discussions, but as I told the speakers earlier, feel the important thing is not to find the right answers to this. The important thing is the discussion. So we should stick to the questions, but feel a little bit free in how you interpret them. So with that, we can go to the first question. So Open RAN, of course, was one of the key priority areas that we're looking at in the roadmap. But of course, here the question is sort of Open RAN. Yes, it's a great idea. But there are, of course, a lot of challenges as well. So how do you see sort of the integration and security challenges? Is it something that is temporary, or is it really a risk to the open ecosystem and something that will be a showstopper? Michele, maybe you want to kick us off here?
Okay, so actually, before answering the question, I take the freedom to explain how I am going to answer the question.
Yes.
Since my background originally is system engineering, recently I've been using quite often one particular concept from system engineering or system theory, let's say, which is the Kalman canonical decomposition, which is a way to look at a dynamical system and ask, say, a few questions. What part of the system I can actually see from outside, and what part of the system I can actually influence from the outside. So in practice, this canonical decomposition decomposes the system into four fundamental subspaces, what is controllable and observable at the same time, what is controllable but is not observable, what is observable but not controllable, and what is neither observable nor controllable. This last component is very peculiar because it's not, say, irrelevant nowadays with the kind of complex system we are dealing with. It's maybe, on the contrary, the source of many problems, no? And also the source of many risks. Because we can have, for instance, elements of this component that can grow in time, and we don't realize what is happening, no? Until it is, say, too late, until we recognize some problems, until we recognize some, say, energy consumption that is increasing, these kind of things. So this part really can originate problems. No? The reason why I'm talking about this is that it's not just, say, a computational tool. It's not just something that we can use in theory. No? It's really a very important way of thinking about the system. No? And also a very important way of thinking about what we cannot see of the system. And then I come to the question, which means if we look at it Open Run with the lenses of the Kalman decomposition, no? So we have a traditional network, radio access network, that are typically operated as kind of closed monolithic blocks. Even better or even easier from a certain point of view when we have a single vendor system that is creating a system that is highly controllable and observable because they can simply handle all the elements. Huh? When we have something that is open and when we expect many different systems to cooperate together, of course, we are replacing one coherent system with many disaggregated pieces of hardware, containerized software, microservices from different suppliers, different supply chains. There are many opportunities, but of course, as we all know, nowadays there are also some risks and vulnerabilities. No? So in control system terms, we can say that we have some way deliberately driven the system into something that is a little bit less observable and less controllable, no? That it used to be in advance. So there may be hidden vulnerabilities, high-risk components that can be deep inside a server or many servers, or servers that we even don't know where they are, no? Where they are located. And yeah, well, and so a number of problems that can be connected. So what was the meaning in this case? So we have problems in observing what is happening, is controlling what is happening. We need something new to increase the elements of the system that can be controlled and observed to reach our objectives. No? So is temporary growing pain or is a structural risk? It's a structural opportunity, but it's also a structural risk.
Yeah.
To briefly answer the question. So
yeah. Thank you. I think we'll get back to some of the related questions as well. VP, what's your thought on this? You are muted if you're speaking.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I had an idea that my PhD was that you should be able to speak and automatically the application should select the right speaker at the right moment. That was my PhD thesis 25 years back. But we are still always having this problem of muting and unmuting. Anders, thank you so much for inviting me. I don't know whether you made a good choice or not.
No, I did.
In another half an hour, you will everyone will get to know about it. The one thing is that when you have such a huge effort with so many players around, right? So that's always a welcome thing. And going by your question, so as a distributed computing platform, whether it is there um, no, one second. Temporary uh, growing pain. Of course, it is temporary. The thing that people are talking about these days is that it will continue to evolve in different directions, and because of that, you will have these security challenges is going to be sort of pain in the neck. But at least a recent survey, I don't know where it was published, but probably we can search for it, is that it will be in another like 3 years. That's what the prediction is about. These things will ease out. Once the core becomes more and more stronger, structured, this is going to be a sort of a only a growing pain rather than it's going to cause problems continuously forward. And the other thing is also that so we also have the problem here, right, with respect to the multiple interfaces and the dependencies and other things, apart from so many players around, right, and vendors. So that's where this the possibilities of mismatch is going to be there. But once things become more and more standardized, when more experiments and more user studies are going to be reported, things will ease out. I always go for something that I have observed over the last almost 30 years now, is that when people come up with simple techniques, simple things, that is going to stick. The greatest example is the IP, Internet Protocol. There were so many models, so many things that was proposed, fantastic ones even. But ultimately, when you have so many operators, the simple protocol, simple techniques is going to become more and more stronger, and then that brings everyone together. That's what I feel at this point of time. So I don't worry so much about the security things at this point of time, and also the structural risk. So once people start moving towards making few of these useful stacks more and more standardized, the security things will wane out. So I'm much more hopeful, and I don't think this will happen. But there is always one simple bottom line that when the system is complex, there is always something that is that can be exploited by someone who would like to cause mischief. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
the bottom line.
I agree. Thank you
Yeah.
very much. I think I don't really have that much to add to these great insights. I think one of the key things really is sort of looking at both sort of this as in terms of a risk and opportunity. Of course, resilience is extremely important since the telco infrastructure is a very critical infrastructure, and opening it up can create new attack surfaces, but it also can create additional resilience and robustness. So I think we can move on to the next question, which is more to do with, okay, we have there are systems like OpenRAN, there are other ways of building telco edge clouds, but of course, if everyone is just doing their own thing, that that is a problematic. So how do we avoid building these silos, and what's the biggest blocker to a federated European telco edge? And I mean, I think that a big problem here, of course, is sort of what are the business models that you can build around this, and how do you get the big European telco players to play together, but also in an open ecosystem where it's also possible for smaller players to come in. So, what would you think here?
Yeah. Well, again, if we look at this question with the Kalman framework, certainly the biggest blocker is the lack of cross-domain observability and controllability, also the lack of say, cross-Europe or cross-geography observability and controllability. It's more a commercial and business model problem than the technical problem, no? Because from the technical point of view, there's solutions. Of course, it's not easy, but there are many projects working around solving the technical aspects. But
I think a lot of us are good at solving technical problems. It's all the other things around it that is the challenge.
Yeah, market fragmentation is creating really complexity for anyone trying to build across, say, the market in Europe. A developer that wants to make something pan-European, better than me, but is facing the prospect of negotiating different contracts and technical integration problems with many operators in the market, the telco operators also. And this is a severe limitation and is killing the proposition before actually it starts. It's really a problem. So we have a solution which is easy, in case of voice and data roaming, for instance, now. So we have the experience of that. But if we want to have real-time computing transaction, for instance, or processing services that we want to host in different positions in the proposed edge cloud continuum, that is another story. It's much more difficult. Of course, it's also difficult to migrate something that is not just data, is also knowledge, and more will be AI services, for instance. So it's really what federated telco environment would need in the future, probably. But for one reason, a few years ago, we introduced in a paper with the 6G flagship initiative in Finland, where we talked about the intelligent Internet of Intelligent Things. Because nowadays we are dealing with IoT, which is the Internet of Things. But things are becoming more and more intelligent, and to communicate, they need an intelligent internet. So we need more intelligence for that. And so what do we really need? We need, say, not just the technology or the mathematics. We also need something more, which can be, say, central authorities to help handle the commercial relationships in this new kind of internet. Take into account what are the limitations that we have in Europe with respect to other continents.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think, and I mean, you said data roaming, of course, that's to some extent easier because a megabyte of data is a megabyte of data, and as you say, this is a lot more complex. VP, what do you have to add there? Any thoughts? It's not easy for you going after Michele. He has a lot of good insights.
Yeah. I think I agree with Michelle. There are one or two added points that I would like to share. One is the problem is about getting every operator to come to one platform for a common standard. Because I do a little bit about the standards, not exactly in Open RAN thing, but other standardization efforts that I have seen. It's very hard when you have multiple players. And also agreeing upon some of the common APIs, and then the orchestration of the use cases, applications, and very important thing is the commercial terms. And this is where you will have a lot of effort and discussion, human efforts rather, is going to happen. After that, I don't see a problem with respect to making things federated across European ecosystem. So the problem I feel is not with the hardware, not with the efforts that people are developing in any of these Gs beyond 5Gs. It is mostly about taking one step back and trying to consolidate what has been done and then moving forward. So the market, as I said, the commercial and the market aspect, I think once that is sort of sorted out, I don't see any problems with respect to going towards federated edge across the European ecosystem, telco ecosystem. So I always think that commerce makes is a big player, which is the elephant in the room, so to say, and that has to be taken into account first. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. That's interesting. There are definitely a lot of challenges as we see. So maybe then finally looking at the next question of look at how. So there are a lot of challenges. So can we have the next slide, please? But of course, AI is already in the telco sector, and the telco players are using AI. So where do we see it actually happening, and what are sort of some of the big breakthroughs that has happened, and similarly, where are we still waiting for it? Maybe VP, you can start this time.
Yeah. Something that I come from, I come from India, so I also go back and forth. Something that I want to tell is that one of the telco service providers, it's called Airtel, sort of one of the biggest operator in India. So what they have done is they have used AI highly efficiently to bring the energy efficiency. So that means things are really moving ahead, and they are efficiently using this already. And that's one. And the other thing is that we will be also be able to use this with respect to fraud, spams, security issues, and other things. That is already more and more. We see that it's being used in most of the places there. But the other usual not so important for technocrats like us is the customer care and other things. So some of these are the things that I feel what I have seen is where people are already using or implementing the AI aspects in their day-to-day running. So I think there are many more where this can be utilized. I don't know much about where else this could be utilized. Probably some of the things like bringing multiple vendors together and then somehow planning to efficiently build the interfaces between vendors. I think that's one thing where AI can contribute. My 2 cents.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. No, it's quite interesting, especially seeing sort of both the European and the global perspective on things as well. What are your thoughts, Michaela?
Well, in general, I think that wherever the network is providing structured observability through telemetry, where data are available, then AI is already playing a role, or at least say AI techniques from beginning from machine learning, these kind of things. So in practice, these techniques are helping making the system more observable. For instance, for AI-driven maintenance activities, congestion forecasting, these kind of things. On the other hand, we also are able nowadays to run the monitor, analyze, plan, and execute to some extent loop through AI techniques, which is also to some extent a way to apply the Kalman principles in telecom environment. So in practice, we have observability during the monitoring and analyze phase, and controllability during the plan and execute phases. And they are useful. So where the AI solutions are not working yet, there was an attempt to introduce more autonomy, but certainly in mission critical or fully autonomous systems, we are still too far now, so we cannot completely trust the solutions. There is a little bit more subtle problem here from the Kalman perspective, because the black box nature of AI solutions can create a system that is controllable but unobservable to human operators, and this is something that we don't like. We need more explainable solutions, and also we need to work properly in terms of say risk assessment and delegate decision to AI systems when we recognize that the risk is low enough, in order not to say to solve the simple problems, but at the same time introduce potential high risk. It's something that, of course, we have to avoid.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think that it's been some interesting discussions here. Basically, everything from sort of starting with what the opportunities and challenges are with existing open ROM platforms and the types of open systems, thinking about what is preventing us from already being there, and then thinking a little bit about what has already happened and where do we go next. We did have a final question, but I think we've already it was about basically business models for network as a service. I think we've basically covered this topic already when we were talking about the barriers for creating this federated platform. So, does any of you have any final closing remarks before we open the floor to any questions from the audience?
Network as a service is, I think, is going to be very apt and useful. Of course, as I also touched upon earlier, the APIs, right? And that's going to play a very important role if you want to offer the network as a service thing. Now, the important aspect is you have the cloud and you have the network, and usually the enterprises would have their own edge, though they take third-party services from the cloud side. So you could see that there are multiple players around, and if you are really going for network as a service, for example, a big unit, a big factory, for example, utilizing or working at multiple places and having their own network, the private network, for example. There are a bit of an issues still to be solved. That's one part. The other part is the famous continuum that we are all talking about for the last almost, I think, 10 years. I wrote my first proposal 10 years back with the cloud and edge continuum thing. I have not really seen something concrete yet. Yes, there are fantastic glimpses here and there, but it has not been realized fully as a good structure for us to take it forward. But though I'm talking a bit negative here, but there is lots and lots of efforts that has been already built in. So there is some work also being done. If I'm correct, if I remember, T-Mobile and Vodafone and other, at least in Europe, they have already implemented in some way or the other these aspects. But something that we still need to solve is how do you play between the cloud and the edge, and that too when the knowledge is distributed amongst these two places, how exactly we are going to optimize it. And that is going to be a very big, important issue also. I'm just touching only one aspect of NAS.
Okay, thank you very much.
I mean, to also recognize that for telco operators, it's really a huge opportunity, how to reinvent their role, from just connectivity providers to active service brokers, or even provider of, say, intelligence services, added value services, which is another very long story, how to add value to what they offer. But now they have an opportunity, or they have new opportunities. It's time to really try to reinvent the business models. But again, they need probably to strengthen their collaboration at European scale.
And that's good final words. We need to collaborate across Europe to make sure that we have got to a bright future. So with that, I think we can open up the floor for any questions or feedback from others who have been listening.
Okay, so right now I don't see any questions in the chat. But then I would like to use the opportunity just to maybe quickly ask, since we will have a lot more webinars coming, what would be maybe some challenge or gap that you didn't get to cover today that's worth mentioning, thinking about tackling maybe in some other NexusForum talk?
You mean in general or with a
Yes.
focus on telcos? Because
However you wish.
if we look at telecommunication, of course, we have to recognize that if we want to have a real continuum, the communication aspect is extremely important, no? Because we need the computational capacity, but we also need the telecommunication element, no? to share this capacity and to really create a continuum. But there is one direction where the continuum is going to develop next, probably more than we expect at the moment, which is the, say, non-terrestrial network component, the satellite link that will also be part of the 6G, say, new standard, no? Which is useful, of course, for what we do here on land, but will also be more and more useful for what we are going to do in the space. No?
Thank you, Michele. Anders, VP, do you have
I think yeah. Before coming to this webinar, I was thinking about it, but I forgot to mention. Yes, non-terrestrial networks is becoming much more pronounced these days. It's simply that it avoids so much of costs. For example, deploying everywhere a base station is not going to be that easy. The infrastructure cost will be much more because there are so many places where you really need the communication. You need to connect to people around. The mountains, for example, deserts, for example, and other places, you cannot force the telco operators to build infrastructure where they don't have too much of traffic, for example. So in that sense, non-terrestrial networks is going to play a big role. That's number one. Number two, for whatever reasons, the world that we are in now is going to utilize drones much more. Let me not talk about the other aspects with the place where edge of the Europe and the western edge of the Asia, and that we can probably, let us not get into that aspect, but the applications for using drones is becoming much more pronounced. In few years, it's going to solve lots of problems. Probably Uber is going to use their drones for Uber Eats instead of somebody going on motored bicycles, for example. I see that the world is going towards that. So that means you have a complex network instead of some sort of a 2D network that we have been continuously using for almost over the past, let us say, 40 years. Now, suddenly, you're bringing one more dimension. So when you have third dimension, so how are you going to operate a network in 3 dimensions, right? So the network properties are going to change. The connectivity is going to change a lot. Fast handovers and also confused handovers are also going to come into picture. So I see there is going to be a huge opportunity for scientists, researchers, and also for the telco providers. Lot many challenges there. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, I think that we also gathered some interesting insights through this let's say Q&A. Of course, if there are any questions that anybody from the audience can come up later, feel free to also write to us. You can also follow us on social media. Here you can check out our working groups. The roadmap is also available on our website, so please feel free to have a look. As mentioned, it's divided in different domains, so a lot of interesting information, like the one presented today during this webinar. I would like to personally thank to Anders for contributing to this session, but also to Michele and to Professor Ventakesha Prasad. I think that this session was maybe too short, even though we crossed our initial time for all the things that there are to discuss. But this also just proves that this topic is very relevant, very interesting, always developing, and there's always something additional to say. Anders, would you like to add something else at the end of the session?
Uh, no, as Michaela said when we discussed this before, yes, each of these questions is enough content for at least a couple of webinars each. But yeah, I would also like to thank both Michaela and VP for agreeing to join and contribute to this. I think you had some interesting insights.
Let me
So
also add Professor Kalman, who is maybe most of you don't know, but who is helping us every day for all activities we are doing. And maybe in one of the next webinar, we can explain why.
yes, that's
So
Kalman's influence on Cloud Age Continuum. Yes.
Yeah.
For those still
Yeah, last thing is I think I would also like to uh, tell everyone that we'll be at least I will be very happy to collaborate. And I think these webinars are supposed to bring more people together. And I always think that different viewpoints, the same problem looking from different angles mean differently many times, and then that can actually throw many more interesting aspects. So in that sense, so I'm always uh, happy to collaborate and interact. So feel free to connect with me. And I thank Anders for putting faith in me
Of course.
just a day before. So uh, uh,
Yeah.
thank you
Yeah,
so
thank
much
you
for
very
the
much, Anders.
yeah, Michelle. Thank you so much. It's
You're welcome.
lots of insights that you provided. Yeah.
And I think a really great message at the end of this session. Yeah, more minds can come up with better solutions. So for those still being with us, we will be posting also this recording in the days to come. So if there are those who could not attend, please feel free to share. Also, follow us on social media. We will soon be announcing next webinars, so upcoming webinars, but also the final event of the NexusForum project. Thank you very much and have a good day.
Okay. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.